Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. This is the podcast that shares candid, open, and sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men. This week's episode is the second week in a series of episodes in partnership with Movember. And this week we're talking about a bit of a heavier topic. We're talking about suicide and the effect that it has had on myself and on 3 of my friends. So, just a heads up. Bit of a heavier conversation. As a reminder as well, we do have the donation link for Movember in the description. So if you're interested in supporting this great cause, which is looking to change the face of men's health, feel free to do so. Follow that link in the description. And hope you all enjoy. It's a really great talk. Bit of a heavier one, but it's a really great conversation. And I'll see you all in a moment when the episode starts. Peace.
Are you actually going? You bought your ticket?
We're all sure, yeah.
You bought your ticket?
I did, yeah. What a fucking spur of the moment decision.
I'd be down to go if we go with a different group of people.
Why?
I mean, if you can gather a group,
because those guys are like super into like EDM and stuff like that. If I go somewhere like that, I'd like to also see either Miami, Vegas, like the other side, like, and I like it for it to be, you know, like a group of like really close friends. Like who's that? Like Devin and you would be going.
Yeah. Ben.
Who else?
Ben's going.
Okay, but Ben and Jessica are gonna be together all the time.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
Matt, but Matt's part of that group too.
It just
What
seems like
about-
a lot of money for
Yeah, it is.
a rave.
It is.
Yeah. A 3-day rave at that.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute.
He only brought Kabs because he's a fucking mule. He's gonna sneak the drugs in. I didn't actually want him there.
Keister, check this man at the airport. Man, but you guys are doing more than just the 3 days though, right? Or are you just going in for the festival and then leaving?
I think we're just going.
I feel like you gotta like do
going
Miami.
to-
a
Dude,
bit
Dude, that's
too.
what I'm saying. Like knowing them, they're just gonna go straight for the festival. Like
Right.
even when you're there, people are gonna be either too dead or just.
What about
wanting
like
to-
after party stuff? You can go do that, but then that's still kind of like it feels
I'm
like
not
the same
going
vibe.
after parties.
But like, ain't no one gonna go to the beach at like
No.
fucking 12
No.
or 2.
No,
The Airbnbs are pretty nice there.
Yeah,
Like stacked with pools and like beach
Stacked.
volleyball courts and
stacked with pools. Like there's pools stacked on top.
yeah. It's infinity pools on top of infinity pool,
oh,
on
man.
top of a hot tub.
Got a Lamborghini.
You gotta,
Oh,
you gotta swim,
man. Only brand new.
you gotta
Brand
swim
new
through the
Lambo.
pool to get to the hot tub.
That's what I'm saying. A trip
If
like
you can't
that
hold your breath, you're gone.
would be fun to go for like a week.
Yeah, it would be.
Spend the first 3 days in Miami and then finish it off with the fucking.
That's what I was thinking
Festival.
before I bought the ticket. But when is that gonna happen?
No, that's what I'm saying. We should actually pitch that because how much? Once you're down in Miami, it's $400 for the ticket, right?
U.S.
Yeah.
Fuck. Actually,
legit came to like 600 after taxes and shit.
it might be worth it to just fuck. You can always sell it though, right?
Welcome back, Shandy and Seb, returning as guests on the podcast. Welcome back to On Your Mental.
Thank you for having us.
Kabs. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Every day it gets worse with this guy. You're missing something. Yeah, missing the best, dude. I just realized, yeah, because I guess the last episode we filmed was the Halloween one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Movember came out before that, though. So this is week 2 of Movember. First of all, let's talk about that for a second. Obviously, for everybody listening and watching, this is a month of episodes dedicated to stuff related to Movember and supporting their effort in changing the face of men's health. And today we're going to be talking about some important stuff. But before we get into that, I will address my face as an update for the people. I hate that you didn't do it, man. Anyways, so my face is... This is the 4th? Are we on the 4th or the 5th? This is November 4th. So this is 4 days of growing back out facial hair. But I'm going to get rid of the beard part on the 8th when I film another episode. So next week's episode after this one will be just a stash at just a week's growth. And it's going to be disgusting. And it's going to be worse and worse and worse as the month goes on until the last week. And it will be bearable. And I'm still going to hate it. But it's for a good cause, so we're raising money for Movember. There's a link in the description for the episode if you're interested in donating. But anyways, today's topic, we're going to be talking about something that is, I guess, close to all of our lives or a part of all of our lives. We're going to be reflecting on our experience having lost somebody to suicide. I'm going to kick off the episode, though, with a quote from Will Smith. And I believe it goes... Welcome to Miami. Bienvenido a Miami. What do y'all think about that quote? No, so I actually got this from another podcast. It was with I don't know if any of you have heard of Jay Shetty. No, he does.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Really blue eyes. You don't know him. But he's got a podcast. I didn't watch the podcast. I came across the clip on TikTok, as I come across most things in my life these days. And there was a clip. It's so sad. Half of my news is from TikTok. There was a clip there, and he was talking with Will Smith, and Will Smith said something that I think it stuck with me and made me think to actually have this conversation in today's episode. What he said was that we should be in the richness of our hellos and goodbyes. And what I kind of took from that is that life can be fleeting, and you never know the significance that a hello and a goodbye might have for somebody. That's one of the more human things that we get, is a greeting and a farewell. And that made me start thinking about what it means to say hello to somebody, to say goodbye to somebody, and when it might be the last time. You don't know it's the last time. So I'll open this up to us and ask you all what you took from just hearing that quote from Will Smith. But yeah, what do you think? And I'm gonna turn on this light while I'm looking at that too.
I think Seb's got this first one.
I didn't really get it at
No?
first. And nah. I thought he was trying to be too deep and existential, and I didn't really understand.
At all?
Well, when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is just too much. But then the whole
He's just trying to say it to be
trying to seem
be
so smart,
thoughtful.
man. You fucking Will Smith. Come
It's
on.
Will Smith. Let's go.
Relax.
Fresh Prince.
He's
French Prince of Despair.
Dude, yeah, all the Jada stuff. Anyways. Yeah.
Anyways.
But I mean, yes, it makes sense.
Why do you think he was just trying to be extra thoughtful, or why do you not believe in maybe the genuineness of that quote?
It's not that I don't believe in it. It's just it's trying really hard to be philosophical, and it's just that's just something that should be expected. I don't know.
Sure. No, that's fair.
Yeah, I guess I agree that it's something that should be expected, but it's super super simple concept.
Mm-hmm.
You should be more sincere with your hellos and goodbyes, because you never know when the last time you're going to see someone is, or when the next time you're going to see them is. But it's often an overlooked concept, right? When someone's if you say hello and goodbye you mean it, but life is just, when you're younger, life is just constantly going. So you're saying hi to your friends, saying goodbye to your friends. For example, at school, you see everyone every day.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize the importance of this quote and that concept as soon as we got out of high school, because I'm seeing our friends every day, and then you see them now maybe once every, some people I see maybe once every couple of years.
Yeah. And a lot can change in that time, right?
I think our friend group does a really good job in saying hi and bye to each other. We always hug each other.
We do.
We always say bye, love you. I think that's what I really appreciate of
Mm-hmm.
our friend group.
I like that too, in the sense that we don't end things on a bad note ever. No. But that's what I want to kind of get across with talking about this. This, you saying that about as you've gotten older, you've thought about that, and when you're younger, everything's always moving. I heard something when I was a kid, and it was some news story. I think someone had lost their husband or something like that, but their husband had always said to them, I love you. Every single day before they walked out the door, they always said, I love you. And me growing up being just myself and my mom, I took that into the relationship with my mom, and it was I would always say I love you to my mom after every conversation now, and I've continued to do that, because it's you never know what's going to happen.
I know.
Right? You never know what could change.
Yeah.
There could be an accident. There could be something going on, right? So I think it's important to leave things on a good note.
And at least it'll give you some peace of mind knowing that your last words was I love you. You know, even if it was just okay, bye, love you.
Yeah. Yeah. They at least heard it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to bring that idea, obviously we can all agree that it's important to do that. Kabir and I, we mentioned in last week's episode that our friends we've all lost this person in our lives to suicide, and I I'm not going to like pretend or anything like that they were a very close friend of mine, but all of you were, right? And are. And so that I might have gone through this experience very differently than some of you who were actually much closer to this person than I was, right? So that's kind of also why I want to talk about this is I can only know my own experience, and I can only know how I've felt through this, which is watching all of you go through a very tough time was tough for me to see. And it was like, it brought out emotions in me, and I would feel really sad about this stuff. I think I talked about this as well. And I was talking about when I had a bad day thinking about you, Seb, when you were dealing with this, how you were dealing with this. And I felt for you, right? And it's not that I was affected directly by the loss of this person. I was affected indirectly because it affected my friends who were very close with this person, right? So it's that whole like cascading effect through. So I wanted to ask you all, and I know it's hard to talk about it, and we're not going to get into crazy detail. I want to be respectful of all that, but I do want to kind of ask, how did this affect you, and how has it continued to affect you in your life today?
From the grieving side, I'm not much of a... I'm still trying to figure out like how I grieve to certain things. Like for example, that when our friend passed, my grieving was pretty delayed. I think I talked about it on the first Movember episode. But the main thing that I took away from that circumstance was my awareness on mental health. Before that, I just thought of mental health as like maybe something you need to be diagnosed with rather than something that's kind of happening in everyone's life every day. So when that happened, it just kind of opened up my mind that there's more to it, and you don't know what someone is going through. When I would talk to our friend at the time, I had no idea.
Right.
There were some issues where there were some issues that just seemed like normal issues, and I didn't really dig deeper into it. But I had no idea. And like looking back at it now, you never know, like the mindset that someone's in order to take their life. I'll still never understand, and that's the scary part of it, I guess.
No. Yeah, it's because thinking of how you're saying that, where you think of it as needing to be diagnosed with something, it's almost like thinking that it needs to be something so extreme that it's noticeable to that extent that you're going to be medicated, that's when this happens. But obviously these things that affect us can be a lot more subtle, I guess, in the sense that you don't know the magnitude that it carries in that person, in that individual. Yeah. You don't know whatever they're going through, how serious that is for them in their life, right? How about either of you? How have you felt?
It was hard. I think like the first couple days I didn't sleep at home. Like I ran away. I was so numb at first, like I couldn't believe what I saw. And then every single day I was crying. It was either I was crying or I was numb. And like I think the really good thing about us was that like we saw each other every single day, and like we spent mostly the whole day together. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm good.
So you felt that sort of numbness and just sadness, and that was the only thing that was there then.
Yeah. And I love that, like, how we were all together and we were grieving together, Like, I can't even imagine if, like, another one of my other friends passed, but not all of my friends were close to that person, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how I'd be able to handle it, because, like, they wouldn't exactly know how I'm feeling.
Right. It's almost like you might not be able to open up about how you're feeling with them, because they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's a common kind of trending conversation around this kind of thing where it's like you don't want to burden other people with your own sadness.
Exactly.
And I think that can contribute to the person who might make a decision to take their own life, but it will also contribute to those who are grieving from something like this.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to put this on other people, but when you do have everybody who has a shared experience, it might make it at least easier to open up, but still an incredibly sad thing, right?
I feel like maybe that's why I ran away, because like I didn't want, I mean, of course, me not being home, my parents of course worried, but like at the same time, like I didn't want them like checking up on me like so very often, and you know, just kind of like being so careful around me. I was like, okay, like I'd rather just not be home, let them know that I'm okay. But yeah,
it was nice to, like you were saying, our friend group, there was even a few times when I think we just met up shortly after just for the sake of meeting up, and we didn't really do anything. We just like
together.
We just literally, there's a few times where we literally just sat together.
That feeling, I guess, where it's like you don't want to be checked up on, you know, by your parents in that case.
So, like I don't want to worry them, like you know, but like I don't know how to explain the feeling.
It's something that I've felt with other situations where it's like it's almost like the presence of this person caring forces me to think about it too, forces me to kind of acknowledge it, and then it becomes even more in my head. I think like, oh, this is going to be even more of a thought, more of a forefront thought in my mind, when in reality I'm still going to be sitting here thinking about it, right? No matter what, if someone's going to talk to me about it, at least I'm kind of getting it out. But of course, so shortly after too, right? That's not something that you want to deal with. That's not something that you want to go through. But that's, I guess, part of this question I have for us here too, right? Is like the way that we have grieved, right, is part of the conversation as well. You know, the immediate afterwards is different from where we are today. You know what I
remember?
What?
When we went to IKEA with Janelle, we literally we were like, let's hang out together, and like we did random things.
Yeah.
But we were together, and I really like that.
Yeah.
It was so weird how we literally were just like, let's go to IKEA. We were grieving in IKEA.
Get some Swedish meatballs.
Best place on earth, baby.
Look at all these rooms.
Trying out the different beds, acting like you're gonna buy one.
That's literally what we were doing. We were laying on the beds, and we had ice cream.
No. It's a good vibe. I mean,
can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. Not at all.
What kind of ice cream?
McDonald's ice cream.
Oh, you brought it to
you bring in McDonald's.
Or actually, no, it might have been IKEA ice cream.
IKEA.
Doesn't IKEA, they got a half and half, right? A little chocolate vanilla swirl. They got one of those? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I don't think I've had IKEA ice cream. I'm sure it's good.
It's your basic soft serve.
Really? I'm thinking IKEA ice cream is like
it's frozen yogurt.
Costco.
Is it? Oh, is it not? It's not even soft serve. It's froyo.
I think I'm pretty sure it's froyo.
I think it's soft serve, yo.
They got some.
Right. I'm pretty sure it's froyo.
Nah.
They got.
You said soft serve, yo.
I'm pretty sure it's froyo, yo.
Man, I'm pretty sure they got some killer hot dogs, man. I fucking love their hot dogs.
Are they like 99 cents?
Good. Yeah, that's why I like them.
I don't think I've tried it.
It's a basic hot dog.
Compare it to the Costco one.
Costco's way better. The jumbo dog. Dude.
What about
Remember that time at high school I almost ate 2 footlongs?
You did.
And then we went to Subway.
Fuck.
Man. We went on a lunch break.
In high school, I can't even wait till after high school.
But we went to Subway, and I ordered 2 meatball marinaras, man. I was pounding them back.
That's the worst.
And then you had KD. Then you had KD afterwards. Or you could have. I don't know if
we had powdered donuts afterwards. That's what we had.
Guy loves the round.
And I love them. We thought we were hilarious too, because we had the powdered donuts and we rubbed the powder all over our upper lips, and we were walking around class.
Oh my
God. I remember we were sitting in the cafeteria, and didn't like teachers come up or say something and say you can't be doing that? Like,
I don't remember that. But
what are you talking about?
Can't believe in powder on your upper lip.
Bastards. They don't know what's good for us. I mean, obviously, like for us sitting here, I know how difficult this is for you to talk about. And I know that you're acknowledging what Shandy's saying and you're agreeing. But what was it like for you, man? Like get us into your head. Get us into your head a little.
He ran away too.
Yeah, this guy ran.
I physically
far
ran.
away.
You
Yeah.
actually ran away.
I think
Oh, initially, yeah, you did
Yeah.
physically.
yeah. I think life has a funny way of humbling you, if you will, you know? Like before all of this, I would say I was very ignorant or, you know, biased to the whole, you know, thought of suicide and everything. I think I'm very blessed and would say that I'm actually like a very happy person. And so I would never understand that perspective and that thought. And I used to have really far out ideas of how you should deal with stuff like that. And I was such a fucking loudmouth little brat. Not that I'm any better now, but you know, I would always think like, as long as there's, you know, shelter over my head, food in my mouth, like I can't be sad, you know?
Right.
And I would always think, don't get sad, get angry, you know? If you're angry, you at least fucking break something, smash something, you're doing something. If you're sad, you can't do anything. And then it's almost like life tells you like, oh yeah, check this out. And we go through things in life and they always change us, and it's for better or worse. And I think it's up to you to decide how that changes you. There's many things that happen because of this that affect me every day, and they change the way I see things and I do things, and I try to do my best to take a step back, not be such a loudmouth kid, and, you know, think of how this changes me for the worse and for the better, and try to just let the good things come out, you know, because I could sit here and tell you how it changes how I go into things and the perspective I have, but it also does that in a positive way, you know, like now my perspective, the way I view the world, the way I see others is just completely different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I appreciate it, Seb. Yeah, I mean, to your point of it makes you see things differently. I absolutely agree with that. Right? You view people differently. Right? I think quite a bit, at least for speaking from my own experience, I feel like I view people quite differently. When someone wants to tell me about something that they're going through, you maybe take that a little more seriously.
It's a little more empathy in our lives now.
Yeah. Do you mind me, like, and I just want to ask about, you said before, you as a loudmouth kid, you thought of the idea of suicide in a certain way. What was the way that you kind of viewed that idea? I
just never really fully understood it or grasped the concept, you know? Like I grew up in Mexico and I saw what bad looks like, and I always thought like, I can't afford or let myself be sad when I've seen bad and I've seen the worst. And so I just came into it with a very ignorant mentality. It's just like, I see it this way, why don't you, kind of thing. Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
And like a little bit, a part of me still kind of does see like that, and it sucks. Because then when you do feel sad, it's like you almost can't allow yourself to feel sad. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I just never understood it. And when people try to explain to me, even like when Jess was going through and everything, I always had like the worst response and the worst advice, if you will.
What kind of response would you have?
I just want to understand it.
Yeah. Like, how can you see it that way?
Yeah.
Just be
Come on,
happy.
it's not that bad. Yeah. Like,
yeah, like a
shrug
very
it
just,
off.
you know, bias based on my own perception, my own experiences. One of the things that I've learned through all this is shut your fucking mouth, Seb. Most of the time, you're wrong. So just listen rather than talk.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, the importance of like listening, because in our conversation with Mitch and my friend Dev last week, we talked about the importance of listening, and that it's not necessarily about giving advice to a person who reaches out to you for help, right? It's about being there to listen, and even just saying, like, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. That sounds really hard. That can go a long way for somebody too.
Yeah.
That now that you open up this conversation, you allow them to continue letting out what's there, right? And now they're not alone, right? When you open up these conversations, that person who's going through this where they feel like they're alone, all of a sudden they've got somebody who knows what's going on in their head. They've got somebody who's heard them.
Right.
They've got somebody who's accountable with them.
Yeah, I noticed that like a lot of the times when I would like want to talk to someone, I wouldn't like expect responses, or like I wouldn't actually want what they had to say. Like I just wanted them to listen. And then when they would actually try to give me advice, I'd get irritated. It's so weird.
It's like I've felt that for sure. You get something off your chest and then they're like, oh, but have you tried doing this thing? Or like, you know what you should do? You should sit. And in my head, I'm like, fuck off. I don't want to fucking do that. Like, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I've noticed
get my
that
shit out.
while listening to people. just
Can you name a few?
You just want them to shut up?
No, I didn't like just like listening to people's conversations and stuff. And being like, I'm giving like decent advice, and they're just like, yeah.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I can tell in their head they just like they didn't really want to hear the advice. They just want to. They just wanted to be like, oh yeah, I'm on your side. Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you need to wait for in those moments when someone is opening up to and sharing. Listen first and listen until they might ask, "What do you think about it?"
Yeah.
Right? If they're asking, then that means that they're asking for advice. Right? It's a funny cliche with like a man dating a woman. You know what I mean? A woman's telling you about her problems, right? They don't want to hear you fucking tell them how to fix their problems. They just want to tell you their problems. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's the same way, right? You don't do that for anybody, man to man, man to woman, man to anybody. You don't give advice for someone else's problems with your own, I guess, solutions, because those tools might work for you. They might not work for them. I find that really, I guess, interesting that you learned that lesson or learned that through this, right? In a way, that's one of the things that you've learned about mental health and like talking to people.
Yeah, so don't give anyone advice. They don't want it.
Give advice when it's asked for. I think unwanted advice is
the worst.
Yeah, that's so true.
I was like 80% of people are like really shitty listeners.
The listening is tough.
Yeah,
man.
I can. There's so many times where I'm like I could be talking to someone. It might not be about a certain problem, but I can just tell they don't want to give advice.
So like when you mean like when you're telling someone about something you're going through, that they don't want to give advice to you, or are you saying that the person doesn't want to be given advice?
More to Seb's point, where a lot of people just, I don't know if it's just my like the pessimistic thinking, but like I feel like a lot of people just don't care. Depending on the like outside of our friend group, I feel like if I talk to anybody in our friend group, they're sincere listeners. But
no, we're shitty listeners.
But we'll care about what we're saying.
I think it goes both ways. Like most of the time, when we're asking someone to listen to us, is because we want them to affirm or reaffirm our inner thoughts.
Yeah.
So when they tell us advice, it's shitty because first of all, we don't take it. And then B, they're wasting all this energy into trying to help us. And then it just goes sideways. When what we just want them to do is just be like, yeah, bro. Okay.
I get that with you guys, man. I texted them something that was on my mind recently. And I was just excited. I was just happy about it. I was excited about it. And I texted them. And they're hitting me with, you fucking idiot. Like, you're so stupid. I can't believe you're thinking of this. Yeah.
You texted it to the group chat.
No, I texted it to you two directly. I made a private group chat with you two, and I was like, "Hey, I'm feeling this."
Oh yeah, and then I said,
and then at the end, after roasting me, then they're like, "I'm happy for you," and that sounds really great, right?
Yeah.
Whatever was on my mind at the time, but yeah, it's like that's the same idea, at least to me in my head, where that at least I was it was joking, right? And at the end of it, you were just listening to me and happy for me and happy with what I'm thinking. But that can go both ways, to where if I'm feeling sad about something, right, I don't need you to fix me out of being sad. I need you to listen to me being sad, because I chose to be vulnerable with you.
Yeah, I think in that, like, because it was something you're so happy about.
That's easier to fuck around with.
I saw the opportunity to roast you a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted the advice after or not, but I gave it.
That was really fucking stupid.
It's not at all. It's great. Having these conversations, I mean, obviously we're touching on the fact that we've felt different things or gone through this experience and learned different things from it, and learned things about ourselves, learned things about how we interact with the world around us. Given that this is going to kind of shift us towards talking about Movember a little bit here, and what we do on this podcast, this is sharing candid, open, sometimes vulnerable conversations between and about men typically, but obviously I want to get the perspective of a woman on this one, which is on the topic of grieving. We stereotypically, men and women grieve differently, right? We do things differently. You had a group of friends shortly after this happened that you were able to surround yourself with and talk to, right? Different.
Yeah.
Different. Right? And so I want to maybe just ask in just the way that you see this, right? Maybe even how you see men and how they grieve. For us, how we see women and how they grieve. How do you think that's different from ourselves and the way that we grieve? I think about losing my grandma. I didn't grieve that very much at all, interestingly enough. My grandma and I, we weren't distant. I was supposedly her favorite grandchild. I saw her almost every weekend with my mom, but I don't remember crying when I lost my grandma.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, like why is that crazy to you?
Because like I lost my grandma over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out at work, and like once I found out, I was just like bawling my eyes out. Like I had to go run into like one of the supply rooms, and I started like not scream crying, but I was like wailing, you know.
Mm.
And then like my dad was very close to his mom, and when I got into the car, like I wasn't expecting that he'd come pick me up from work as he usually does, but he did. And like when I was crying to him, I think maybe I only saw one tear, and like we were watching the funeral over Facebook Live.
Jesus.
Live from the Philippines.
Yeah, legit. And like my dad did not cry at all, and I was like, how the heck do you not cry? Because like I'm such a crybaby. Like I will cry over anything.
Do you feel it when you cry that helps?
It does. It's very cathartic. Yeah, it's just like a release.
That moment after like a good cry, you're feeling good. You're feeling empty.
That was a good cry,
buddy. Oh,
I definitely don't feel good after crying. I
What?
got a
Really?
fucking massive headache after crying.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my
God,
god.
he's so like allergic to emotion that he just starts fucking getting a headache.
During and after.
Oh man,
Nah, I feel terrible.
are we talking about crying? Or something?
about sex.
Is there a difference?
Is there a difference? You guys don't cry the whole time? Man, really, hey?
Yeah.
You feel that? Like it doesn't get you out of that headspace?
Wait, Cab, when was the last time you cried?
Saturday night.
I don't know. I'd actually have to think about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
years?
No, not years.
Okay.
Like maybe last year. I don't know. I can't remember.
Is
And,
that
like-
time we got
like-
into a fight with you, me, and AJ?
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
That was.
Did you
Long
like
day.
cry or?
Yeah, he cried. That was
That
horrible.
was so funny. Can we tell the
It
story?
was 48
Completely
hours.
wasted, blackout drunk.
He was fine. He had 2 drinks.
It'd been a very long night.
He had 2 drinks. No, we just spent too much time together.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know. how else to describe
It's
it.
literally he cried because they were so close.
AJ always says he's like, that's why, last time I spent 72 hours with Seb, I ended up crying.
Seth. AJ cried too, didn't he?
We almost killed each other.
It was so Seb and AJ. Seb, AJ, and Kabs. They stayed over here, right? I was asleep. Was ever even here? I don't know. But I went to bed like at a reasonable time in the night. These guys stayed up the whole night, and I wake up and they're still awake, and they're just harassing each other. They're making like the dumbest jokes, right? And to me, it's hilarious. To me, it's so funny. You guys are just beaking each other about the stupidest little shit, but you can see it's like slowly starting to bother AJ. Like he's like slowly getting rattled by it.
It was like a real life Lord of the Flies situation. It was fucking crazy, man.
And then
We all started getting on each other's nerves, and then
Pioneers?
it's just.
We went to Pioneer's Pub. You guys were calling each other Febreze Brothers. They kept getting up like mid conversation. All right, Febreze Brothers. And they'd shake on it, and then they'd say they'd stop like fucking harassing each other, and then 2 seconds later they're back at it. And then we went to Pioneer's Pub, and they kept doing it. And then AJ just got mad, like out of nowhere.
And
It
then we
scared
came
the
back
shit
here.
out of me. And then we came back here, and he was so upset that AJ was like genuinely mad at them for being annoying all day.
I went on the.
He went onto the deck and cried.
Started wailing. Wow.
And
You
it was
cried out
so-
there.
It was so
Yeah, I did.
sweet though, but it was
I'm
like,
just leaning over the balcony.
and think about this dude, no sleep. This guy's been up all night and he's leaning over the balcony on his own, crying. It was. I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
No.
It was a funny time. It was a funny time. Fuck, but yeah, that thing though about holding in tears. It's not even that it's weird. I didn't feel the need to cry. I don't know if you've asked your dad if he felt the need to cry. Like, did you want to cry or did you just hold it in and keep it in for the sake of keeping it in? I don't know.
My dad just doesn't cry. Like, my mom told me, like, in like their entire marriage, she's probably only seen him cry like 1 or 2 times. Wow. And one of them was when I got sick, when I was a baby. And I was like, what? That made you cry? But like,
that's love.
Losing your mama didn't make you cry. It was just like, you know, like, because my dad like so close to his mom.
Is he a very like practical guy?
He's
like,
very
rational and like
I'm
just
the
only reason I'm asking is because like, is she like, I don't want to like ask if like she died in natural causes.
Yeah. She's old. She was like 93.
He like kind of reasoned with that a little bit?
93.
I guess so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 92 or 93.
No.
Yeah. Crazy. Hey.
No.
I guess, yeah. Like, I remember, like, how my dad would handle it. Like, he didn't get out of bed for, like, a couple days. And it was crazy because, like, my dad and I, we both, like, couldn't do anything. Like, we couldn't function. And Maple, my dog, like, she would just be going back and forth between us. And, like, she knew.
They can sense it.
It was so cute.
Yeah.
But, yeah, my dad was saying, he was like, yeah, I think I've come to terms with it because, like, she's lived, like, such a long, fulfilling life. And, like, because she had so many kids, you know, I feel like, you know, she left her mark on the world.
Yeah. She lives on.
Yeah.
You know?
She's at peace.
Yeah, she is.
The title of this episode is Why We Live, right? And as sad as it is to lose somebody, I think there's so much importance in us carrying on who that person was, right? I've talked about it, I think, at least privately with all of you. Frank Ocean, on the poster behind you there, Seb, Frank Ocean is the one connection that I have with this person, with our friend, right? That's the one thing that we had in common. That's the one thing that we shared an interest in. And she didn't get to hear Blonde.
Yeah, no, she didn't.
And so anytime I listen to that album, I'm thinking about them, right? And so for me, that artistry, then Frank Ocean has become my favorite artist. Frank Ocean has inspired me in ways by listening to that music and thinking about this moment, thinking about things like that. And
your tattoo.
I have multiple tattoos related to Frank Ocean. And in a way, for me, again, I know I'm not going to lie about it. She wasn't a close friend of mine. But for me, that's carrying her with me in a way, right? It makes me think about all of you. It makes me think about our friend group. And so it's important that we continue to live on and carry on these stories of these people, whether it's their grandmother passing away, whether it's a friend that leaves too soon, right?
I think like the immediate thought when I start to grieve, like if I'm just learning about someone's passing, it's almost like there are emotions waiting right there and I'm like ready to just push them away. I've gotten better with it, especially with the podcast, helps a lot. But no, that's like my immediate instinct is just to like shut the door to the emotions and like handle it.
It's almost like preparing yourself for when that emotion will eventually hit.
I guess.
Do you think about it that way at all?
No, I don't expect it to hit after.
Interesting. You're going to push it and it's never coming in.
Yeah, but I don't even know if it's like, I'm shutting the door, but I don't even know like what is on the other side.
Yeah. It can be kind of scary kind of confronting your emotion around things like this sometimes, right? Because it puts you down a bit of a spiral sometimes, you know? I heard this thing recently and it was from some poem that a guy had written. And he says, let it flow, let it flood. And it was talking about emotion. It was talking about when you're feeling something about somebody, just let it happen, right? Let that emotion flow through you. And that applies to anything, right? In the context of that, it was about feelings about a person. If you're feeling something about a certain person, let it flow, let it flood. If you're feeling sad,
be sad.
Be sad.
Yeah.
Be sad.
That's how I usually let it happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Easier said than done, I think.
It is easier said than done because there's that fear of letting that in.
Yeah.
Right? You don't, not even fear, but it's,
there's
you
like
don't want it in.
For me, I think it's like a fear of like being emotionally unstable and letting my emotions take over.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, just
the more you do it, the easier that can get.
I guess so.
It's like anything, man. I feel like that. I think that, at least. I think that the more that you do kind of surrender to your emotions, the more in tune to your emotions you get too.
That's
right?
true.
Like you can be even more aware of like triggers for things that are going to make you feel a certain way if you've gone through that feeling many times before.
But
and
does
then
that
it lets
make
you
you
manage
more
again
like
and again.
sensitive to topics then? If you're more aware of your triggers, do you become more sensitive of a person?
In my experience, I haven't felt more sensitive to topics. It's made me just feel better about managing how I'm feeling when I'm feeling something. Right. Personally. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. I was like feeling kind of down and like irritated about a situation. And then like I knew I should talk about it because like I knew if I just kept it in, it'd just like keep brewing and brewing.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I was like, okay, like let me just get it out. And I did. And like I still felt like shit afterwards. But today I was like, wow, like I'm in a good mood. Like I want to do something crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the same feeling that I get from that whole having a good cry thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of it, I feel better. This is gonna sound stupid, but I texted you. I was feeling emotional when the podcast hit 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, that like little like tiny little tear thing. It was like a positive emotion. I was like, oh, this is sweet. This is really cool. And it's like I did this. I texted my mom. I'm like, Mom, I actually got her on the phone. I was like, Mom, I just hit 1,000 subscribers. I was like feeling really good about it. But I had a little cry, and then afterwards it was like, okay, that emotion's gone. That like well of emotion isn't there anymore. I can go on about my day. I think we were setting up to record another episode. Like, I was like, okay, let me get back to this. Like, I'll be all right.
Mama, I made it.
Mama, I made it. Like, it was literally that kind of feeling, man. And as like corny and whatever as it is, that's a similar feeling that I've had, right? Where you get an emotion out, whether it's sad or not. Last question to just ask all of us here. Thinking about this conversation we've had today, I guess how did it feel to have this conversation? Do you think there is value in having conversations like these? Are these important to have with your social circles?
I was scared, not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
This topic, like it just scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember during nursing school, when I was doing my mental health rotation, my instructor was like, okay, read chapter 25. And I'm like, okay. I go to chapter 25, suicide. And I'm like, oh my God, couldn't read it. And it's already so hard enough to talk about like one-on-one with someone else or like with a group of friends. Like never did I ever think I'd be talking about it here, like on a podcast for like people to see.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a very worthy topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like that you say that because like I didn't know the way that you went through this.
I know
the days immediately following. I never knew any of that.
Yeah, I was
I was
scared. I was like,
through.
This is really getting out of my comfort zone because like I hate the topic so much. I don't think it would ever be anyone's comfort zone.
Nobody wants to talk about that shit. Yeah. No.
But I'm glad. Actually, no. I didn't really go in that depth because I know if I did, I'd like just start bawling my eyes out.
And that's not what we're needing to do.
Yeah, no, hell no.
We're talking about this one step at a time, right? Yeah, but I appreciate, you being part of this conversation too. Seb, how about yourself? How did you feel about this conversation? Good. And I know that, of course, like you didn't have to say a ton of stuff. That's not the point of it. But how do you feel being here?
Personally, I wouldn't have done it for anyone else but you, if I'm just being fucking honest.
Sure.
I do think this is something that needs to actually be spoken of more and addressed. And it's a real issue in today's society.
Especially lately, like after the pandemic and
stuff. I was telling you when you called me, asked me to do this. I just finished class. I read some this prof we're doing like a cybercrime class with like social media and all that shit. And then he told me, there's some crazy stat where it's like today's teens, you're more likely to commit suicide than homicide.
Insane.
Which I thought was fucking crazy.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, you know, it's even though we don't want to talk about it, it's fucking shitty. Like,
Yeah.
we should.
Well, thank you. I learned another, like, on that topic of this last year being pretty terrible for mental health, that idea of this ridiculous number when you're comparing homicide rate versus suicide rate for the cause of death in teenagers being higher for suicide. That's fucking awful. I just learned, my cousin sent me this stat after last week's episode. Kids age 5 to 14, suicide is the number 3 cause of death.
Jesus. Yeah, see?
5 to
Oh
14.
my god.
What are the top 2?
I don't remember. It's in there if you want me to pull it up. You want me to pull it up?
I would like to kind of get some...
For context.
Yeah,
for context. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Death by Lego.
Like eating it, stepping on tripping.
Oh, no.
Which
Lego,
is more
Lego
lethal.
and Lego.
Oh,
Barefoot,
geez.
stepping on Lego.
Can't find it. So I don't know. I think it was just like a temporary screenshot on Instagram or something she sent, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for context. But still, it's a horrifying number that this is so prevalent in lives at such a young age too, right?
It's so sad.
It is. I don't think that when you asked how your grandmother passed away, natural causes, older age. My grandmother, same thing. I think there is something uniquely awful about losing somebody at a young age when there's so much more that could be had, right? But I appreciate that you did this coming on here. I'll share with the two of you. I talked to Kabs a little bit about this already. Even after last week's episode, I've had a few people, and we're filming this on Thursday. I've had a few people since Monday reach out privately and say how much listening to this conversation has helped them, and they have reached out to their own friends, and they're now talking and opening up about what they're going through. That's the power of doing this, right? That's the point of us modeling this kind of conversation and getting these out there. So I appreciate both of you doing this here. Kabs, how did you feel about today?
It was hard. There was a lot of times where I just wanted to laugh for the sake of laughing, just to shove it away. But it's still something like I feel like not necessarily we can work on, but like these conversations are good in terms of mental health. When we have these conversations, I feel like it is, for something like the topic of suicide, it is good to talk about, because we should be talking about mental health as a whole, right? Every single part, the results, the outcome, the start of it, the preparation, what we can do to help. No, it's all good. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
It's difficult for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's something that needs to be talked about for sure.
It's so hard to talk about when like the cause of mental health is just something so tragic. Like I work with a lot of like downtown east side people, and like, you know, a lot of times I'm like, oh, like we can laugh about it. I'm like, oh, like how'd you get into crack? Like what the heck happened? And they'd say shit like, oh, like my mom passed away, or like my dad passed away like at such a young age. And I'm like, oh shit, dude, like where do you go from there?
Yeah, like you almost understand.
Yeah, like I totally get it. Yeah.
Thank you all of you for coming and having this conversation, because I felt really good about just being here and getting this all out too. I love what you're saying there, Kabs, about you understand, you know, when we are all human, right? There is a shared experience underlying it. I'm not doing crack, but shit, I understand if you lose your parents at a young age.
You sure?
Where are you? You're lost. You know, you're lost.
Yeah.
And you can turn to things.
Yeah,
right? You can turn to these bad
empathize
decisions
with people more, and start to understand people more. And then there's just less hate, I feel like, after that.
Oh, for
when you
sure.
can understand people and what they're going through, and reason why they do things, and like after they've gone through a certain circumstance, you can hate people less.
Yeah. You empathize.
Yeah.
That's the point of these conversations. And so thank you, Kabs. I want to kind of tie things up there. To summarize a little bit of what we talked about today, we talked about the fact that everybody grieves differently, and everybody goes through these emotions differently. The important thing is that you do. I think it's important that you let these emotions come, and that can be a hard thing to learn when you grow up pushing emotions away, in a sense, right? When you try to not deal with them, of course you're not going to want to. It's easier said than done, right? But it's all in practice. It's all in the motion. If you get some of that out of listening to this conversation, great, amazing. Happy to be part of it. Anyways, thank you both again for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks, Kabs, for coming. Thank you all for sharing. And everybody, if you enjoyed this week's episode, I hope you stick around for next one. So we've got 3 more this month, all on the topic of Movember, and they're all gonna be great. So we'll see y'all next week. Peace.